On my 18th birthday, my mom didn't bring out a cake. She slid a calculator across the kitchen table and shoved a garbage bag at my feet. Then she said, "The check stopped today, so you stop living here." 3 months later, I was homeless on the public library steps when a man in a suit walked up and lit the match on the last lie. I'd been adopted as a baby. I grew up in a beige house in suburban Dallas where everything was efficient. Dinner was at 6. Feelings were inconvenient. My adoptive mom, Diane, tracked everything like a budget. When I got a garage job, she started charging me utilities and wear and tear. My adoptive dad, Rick, taught me engines, but never warmth. That morning, the table was covered in spreadsheets and bank statements. Diane tapped her pen like I was overdue. "We only took you in for the state money," she said, calm as a weather report. $1,500 a month, 18 years, contract's over. Rick stared at his coffee like it could save him. I asked if this was a prank. Nobody moved. I asked where I was supposed to go. Diane handed me a shelter pamphlet with the address highlighted, like it was a recipe card. I begged for a week. I offered rent. She didn't blink. "With what money?" she said, already checking the clock. Rick mumbled, "Good luck," tossed me a 20, and left for work. By noon, my entire life fit in one trash bag. Clothes, a toothbrush, a cheap watch my boss gave me. Diane stood by the door like a bouncer. "Leave the keys. The room's being listed today." When I asked if she ever thought of me as her son, she shrugged. "You were a responsibility we handled successfully." The deadbolt clicked, then the chain. I learned fast how to look clean enough to be ignored. Cold showers, sink laundry, smiling at interviews while my stomach folded in on itself. I sat outside the Dallas Public Library because it felt safer than a shelter cot. That's where the suit found me. He said he was a private investigator. He said my biological father had been searching for me for years. Then he dropped the part that made my vision go weird. My father had died the week before. Heart attack at his desk, still trying. The investigator showed me a photo and I saw my own face, just older and sharper. He'd built an oil company and he'd left everything to me. At the lawyer's office, I opened a sealed letter my father wrote the morning he died. 3 pages of love and regret. My mom had died in childbirth. His parents pushed him into signing papers and he regretted it within a week. The records got sealed anyway. So he spent 18 years burning money on investigators, lawyers, anything that could crack a door open. Then we went to a vault. Inside were years of reports, age progression photos, and stacks of birthday gifts wrapped and labeled like he was counting down to me. Letters, hundreds of them. "I hope someone tells you they're proud of you," one said. And then I found the folder that changed my blood temperature. Diane and Rick had known. My father had located them years ago. They threatened restraining orders. They blocked him because contact might have messed up their checks. There was a USB drive in that folder. The investigator plugged it into a laptop and hit play. My father stared into the camera, exhausted, holding a plane ticket to Dallas. He said he had a dinner reservation for my birthday and a chocolate cake picked out. He kept saying, "I'm coming for you, son." The timestamp was 2 nights before my birthday. 6 hours later, his heart stopped. I didn't go back to Diane and Rick right away. I used my father's money to fund transitional housing for kids who age out like I did. I covered the shelter that kept me alive so nobody had to ration soap and sleep. And when I finally went to see the people who cashed me like a paycheck, I only went once. They opened the door to a cramped apartment with bars on the windows. Rick looked older. Diane looked annoyed, like my existence was still an expense. She said, "We gave you what you needed." Rick tried. "We heard about the inheritance. Maybe you can help us out." I took one slow breath, then I pulled my phone out. Next, I read the number back to them. 18 years, I said. $1,500 a month. $324,000. I looked at Diane. Then I looked at Rick. "You raised me for cash," I said. "You've been paid in full." I walked away before they could bargain. Now, every time I sign my name, I use the one my real father wanted for me. The people who treated me like a contract got exactly what contracts deserve. Terminated.